Good afternoon. Happy Father's Day. I hope that it is a happy day for you. I hope that good things are happening in your life and that you are connecting. Don't forget, excuse me, don't forget to call dad or whoever dad is for you. That person that stood in and took that role, perhaps. Um, and be thankful for your dad. You know, however he was once you came into the world, you wouldn't have come into the world without him. So we owe him that much, don't we? And if you had a fabulous dad, then terrific, and you've probably already called it. Maybe you're even with him right now and you're listening to this later in the day or a couple of days later. Whatever. I'm just glad you're here and thank you for being here wherever here is for you. Whether it's live on Facebook on Sunday morning, or whether it's a replay at some other time during the week or some other time in your life. I know that you'll hear today's message just when it's perfect for you. You can also hear us on YouTube and on the Relevant Spirituality page on Facebook, and hopefully soon on the Relevant Spirituality site. We ran into a glitch and we're still working it out, but we'll have it fixed soon. So you'll have all kinds of places. You'll have absolutely no excuse whatsoever for not listening to the talk. So there, I've done all my commercial stuff. Now I'm just interested in how you are, how this day is going, how this week has gone, how the last few months have been in your life. It's been an interesting time, hasn't it? Nothing any of us could have expected, but here we are nonetheless. What a great day, Brenda says. Well, yes, indeed it is, because you're here, for one. Good afternoon, Laura. Happy that you're here, Peggy. Well, thank you, darling. I'm sure you look pretty this morning, too. I can't see you, but I have on a color I know would be fabulous on you. So there we go. Ah, it's good to be here, isn't it? It's good to be together. It's good to spend some time on a Sunday, which is a day that I think we purposely set aside to remember something bigger, to get back in touch with a greater truth than maybe the week has revealed to us thus far. Um, Dana says, hi all, happy Sunday, happy Father's Day, and good day. All of that, Dana, and and more. Um, Kirk is here. Kirk showed up. Yay. I don't see Kirk on my little list yet, but I see Rosa Maria. So, yay. Yay. Hail, hail. The gang's all here. And it's Father's Day. And here we are, grateful for the biological fathers who were instrumental in bringing us into this world, and the fathers that raised us, wherever or however that may have happened, and the people, males and females, who stepped in and fulfilled that role in our lives. I've been thinking about that the last couple of days. I've got to tell you, I really didn't want to talk about Father's Day when I sat down to make some notes. I don't know why. I really don't know why. I didn't have a conscious reason for not wanting to do it. I just kind of didn't want to. And I looked all over for other things, ways to just say kind of Happy Father's Day and then get on with something else. And it wouldn't let go of me. That nagging little feeling that I didn't want to talk about Father's Day. And part of that may be that I have done that for 30 years. Every year on Father's Day, I've talked about Father's Day. But it felt different than that. Um, so I resisted. I really resisted. I mean, for 2 days, I resisted. And I kept thinking, what is this that is going on? Well, why don't I just talk about something else? I did on Mother's Day. I did. I absolutely forgot about talking about Mother's Day until it was Mother's Day and went, oops. So I said a few nice things about mothers, and then I went on with the talk I was going to talk about anyway. This was a conscious resistance without any understanding. And I finally got to that there's a little part of me that feels like a fraud, talking about fathers in general. Mine died when I was very young, 5 years old. And he was out of the house before that. But I adored him. I just adored him as a little girl. And he apparently adored me. It was my mother and father that stopped adoring somewhere along the line. Anyway, and then he died. So he was out of my life to a certain extent, but never out of my heart or out of my memory. And I can remember when I was mad at my mother, who was the only parent I had to get mad at, so I had lots of opportunity. When I was mad at my mother, I would go get in the bathtub and run the water and cry and yell at Daddy, why did you have to leave me with her? But I knew where Daddy was. Because that prayer that they taught you in church, it told me. The very first sentence. Our Father, who art in heaven. Cool. I knew where Daddy was. And if Daddy was in heaven, maybe he could intervene with the angels. Maybe he could do something to fix her. There never was a good male role model in my life. Mother married again to a man that was relatively violent and didn't like children. So kept sending me to my room and wanting me to stay there, which was fine as far as I was concerned because I didn't particularly want to be around him anyway. And then after that, there was a boyfriend who turned out had a criminal record about children. So I never felt close to him. So the male role models in my life were bad models. And I suspect I have spent the better part of my life trying to find a good role model that was planted here. But all the time I've had my Father who art in heaven, and I've turned to him. Even as an adult, I have turned to him. So in some ways I did have a role model, but just not someone who was right here and could say, there, it'll be all right. Although I swear that voice in my head said it many times. Anyway, once I got past processing all of that this week, I finally decided I could talk about Father's Day. I had worked out, I guess, what I needed to work out. And you know what I know now is I know a lot of real good dads. And you guys are redefining that for me. Kirk, you're a great dad. Don, the way you treat your puppies is, is a model for anybody. So yeah, Kirk, I just read what you wrote about your dad's passing. How special. How really special. And that you hold it that way. You know, there are many people who would look at a situation like that and say, well, that ruins Father's Day. And that ruins my birthday. And you didn't. You went someplace else with it. So that's what I'm talking about. You and the men like you who see the world in a fresh new way and change the world in doing that. So thank you. And happy, happy Father's Day. And your Father's Day to you. So here we are. Why don't I just get on with what I have to talk about, and then we can talk some more afterwards.
Rosa Maria's dad passed away when she was 6.
Oh, Rosa Maria, I didn't see that. You had your grandmother and your mother. It's it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. I wonder sometimes who I would be and how I would be um, had my father lived. I know this, I'm much more like him than I ever was like my mother. Um, just all the way around. I look like his side of the family. I'm more artistic type soul. My mother was an athlete and a dancer, and I just could never relate to any of that. My father, however, was also a musician, and I don't relate to that. Um, but I'm a great audience, and I play the radio real well. I'd like us to look today at the good side of things, and also look at the challenging side of things, and um, and come out thinking like Kirk. Come out really celebrating. So let me get on um, with my notes and what I wanted to say to you this morning, and then we'll talk some more. So I ran across some old notes that that made me laugh and made me sad, kind of simultaneously. Several years ago, and I keep notes that are interesting for decades, so I can pull this stuff up sometimes. It's amazing. Anyway, several years ago, TV Guide did an article called The 50 Greatest TV Dads of All Times. And just to show you how times change, let me read you the top 10. Number 10 was Ray Romano from Everybody Loves Ray. And I think everybody does still love Ray. Number 9 was Tom Bosley on Happy Days. Sure, why not? Everybody loved that show too. Number 8 was Andy Griffith. You knew he had to be there someplace. Opie's dad had to show up on the charts. Number 7 was Fred McMurray from My Three Sons. Number 6, and I thought he'd go higher than this, but number 6 was Robert Young as Jim Anderson on Father Knows Best. Number 5 was Danny Thomas on Make Room for Daddy, Marlowe's dad. Number 4 was Michael Landon as Charles Ingalls. Number 3 was John Walton. Number 2 was Ben Cartwright. And the number 1 spot, drum roll please. Oh, thank you. The number 1 spot went to Bill Cosby. That list would not be the same today. But that's how it was then. Many of us were raised on the modern fairy tales in those early television shows. Father always knows best. He never lost his temper. He was, in fact, nearly always home. He always knew the right words to say, always listened, always understood, or at least got it by the end of the show. And he was clearly a great provider because he sure didn't work much. Watching fairy tales such as this created an interesting mythology because most of us, frankly, didn't have it like that, but thought everyone else did and thought we should. If those ideals really do describe the father that raised you, congratulations. How fortunate you were. You can just sit back for the next few moments and reminisce. But Norman Rockwell and Jim Anderson painted pictures that didn't look much like the view of father from where many of us lived. For a good number of us, father made up the rules as he went along. He lost his temper. He wasn't always there. He hardly ever said what we wanted to hear. And may have been broke or unemployed or alcoholic or missing in action or just not there. So we wanted Jim Anderson to be our dad because Jim Anderson acted just like God would, or like a really nice saint, while our real fathers were flesh and blood people who made mistakes, sometimes really big ones, who lost jobs and lost their tempers and didn't always have the right answers or any answers at all. The expectation that the rest of the world outside our home lived in Father Knows Best land made it that much harder to deal with the reality of our lives. And so we created a lot of wounded children who grew up to be wounded or dysfunctional adults. Whether we like it or not, the truth is that most of us got the foundation of our personal vision of the world from our parents, and our concept about how to make it in the world from our dads. If we were taught about living in a good life, living in a good world, we probably have done all right with life and in the world. But that wasn't necessarily the case for everyone. We were not necessarily taught any of that. Or if we were taught at all, the lessons may not have been exactly positive. In the book Life with Father, Clarence Day wrote, Father expected a good deal of God. He didn't exactly accuse God of inefficiency, but when he prayed, his tone was lucid and angry, like that of a dissatisfied guest in a carelessly run hotel. So, if your father was dissatisfied with life and life's God, the odds are good that you are too. Not that we're happy about it, but we learn best as children, even if what we are learning isn't best. But there's hope. Aristotle wrote, men and women, I'm sure he meant, men in general desire the good and not merely what their fathers had. I like that. So if we desire it, then why isn't it always good? Or why doesn't it always get better? We might look for the answers to what our forefathers called divine providence. Moses writes in Exodus, For I, the Lord, thy God, am a jealous God. visiting the iniquities of the father upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. The thought wasn't unique to Moses. Euripides, about 450 BC, wrote, "The gods visit the sins of the fathers upon the children." In his odes 400 years later, Horace wrote, "For the sins of the fathers you, though guiltless, must suffer." This is not fair. In 1596, Shakespeare picked up the theme. Shakespeare, in The Merchant of Venice, says the sins of the fathers are to be laid upon the children. Poor us. Poor us. Inheritors of what? Doomed to live lives of quiet desperation for what our forefathers did or didn't do to us or for us. We're left with two obvious choices: suffer silently and accept our fate and hope that God will get over it someday, or blame our fathers and determine to succeed at life or fail at life because of them. Or perhaps there's another choice. What if our world, this world, is not the sole property of previous generations? What if the psalmist was right when he wrote, "The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell within"? The Lord's. What if the earth and its children, that would be us, really are God's children? What if we're not the property of, nor at the effect of, our parents' consciousness or lack of consciousness? What if all that the Father has is ours? And what if the Divine Father is what we may yet be? Schopenhauer once wrote that every man takes the limits of his own vision for the limits of the world. What you see is what you get. Are you seeing everything? See, what if our early learning was myopic? What if we've been raised to be short-sighted or bigoted or to lack understanding? What if our sight has been too limited? What if our vision has been too clouded by lies and half-truths and misunderstandings for us to see the greater truth? Throughout the ages, while there were those who would blame previous generations for their misery, there have been those who looked higher and found their heritage in something greater. Those who believed, as the Father has life within himself, so has he given to the Son to have life within himself. See, the truth is we have within us the same attributes as that from which we came. Go deeper. Just as a drop of ocean water is not the whole ocean, still it is nothing else but that, and contains the same ocean qualities. We are from life, capital L, life, God life, divine life. We are of life, and we are made of that divine stuff. Here's what we need to know. Being what we are, created in the image and likeness of God, there are certain responsibilities that go with our natures, certain obligations, if you will, that are non negotiable for us as children of the infinite. We must choose to be what we may be. We must choose to see our world for what it may be. Sure, there are some that will say this world is not good. Look at the evil, look at the lack, look at the problems of humanity. People who will moan, if only we could have it be different. But the point is, if we would have it be different, we have a responsibility to see it differently, to see God's world, to see a world filled with divinity, to see a world filled with love and understanding and acceptance and caring, regardless of what our human fathers have seen. It is our responsibility to learn and to know that everything that we see is an effect of someone's thought, perhaps generations of thought. But it is still a temporary condition, a condition that has come to pass and which will pass as soon as we see that what we believe is the creative factor in our lives. Carolyn Myss says, real change begins in the invisible world. Real change begins in the world within, the world of our visions and our dreams. As we begin to see a better world, the Father within will do the work that is necessary to create something better in a way that our human fathers or we as parents could never do. An anonymous Russian writer once wrote, man in one respect is a mere random example of a biological species. Species, man. An image of the universal, a shadow of true existence. And in another respect, he is a man of God, possessor of an individual, authentic existence. Which would you be? Our human parents, or we ourselves as parents, may or may not have been ideal, may or may not have been loving and responsive miracle workers. But the essence from which we all come is perfect and responsive and loving, and the very definition of a miracle worker. In the Old Testament, Jeremiah writes, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Then you shall call upon me and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. You shall seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. And where are you to look? Where are you to search but within your heart? We've looked to our human fathers for approval and for explanations about the state of the world. Or we have looked at ourselves as parents to be godlike, to provide, to be wise beyond knowing, to be always understanding. And if you're anything like me, we have found ourselves wanting. But maybe we've just been looking in the wrong place. In the Epistle of James, we are reminded every good gift, every perfect gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights, within whom is no variableness nor shadow of turning. That, that is the Father from which you come. Unlimited, creative, eternal. In the 17th century, Thomas Traherne wrote, "You never enjoy the world aright, till the sea itself floweth in your veins, till you are clothed with the heavens and crowned with the stars, and perceive yourself to be the sole heir of the whole world." You are that, you know. If your earthly father taught you that, then God bless him. And you. This is your Father's world. And in forgetting that, we have for generations created confusion and chaos and misunderstanding. We have created the world as it is, and we know it can be better. Recent events are telling us that it must be better for all of God's children. You are your Father's beloved child, inheritor of the kingdom. We are, all of us, the offspring of the unlimited Father Creator. And by our thought, we create our lives and our world. When we are aware of that, we can respond to those areas in our lives and in our world that seem to require more. We can respond by thinking in a new way and then following our thoughts with loving, caring action. Let us finally come to understand on this Father's Day that it is not our fathers on earth who have to accept blame for the world or who have to fix our lives. It is the Father within that doeth the work. The Father that does know best, always. The Father that is present, always. The Father that will provide beyond our wildest imaginings, always. That Father who loves and forgives and endures, always. Anne Sexton once wrote, "It doesn't matter who my father was. It matters who I remember he was." Doesn't matter who my father was. It matters who I remember he was. Remember the good, if there was good. And there is almost always some good. Your father or father figure, at least, at the very least, gave you life. And I'm sure gave you more, even if you have to dig to find it. Remember, too, that without your biological father's donation, you wouldn't even exist, and existence is a pretty special thing. It has brought you here to this moment, and you can change the world. With that awareness, you can change everything or change what you choose and make a difference in a world that needs your wise choices now. It comes from remembering every day, whatever you may be facing, remembering who your ultimate Father is and what that Father has given you. When we make the commitment to live and act and believe and trust in the promise and the gifts of that Father, we will change our lives and we will change our world. When we fill our mental world, our marvelous minds, with the grandeur of recognizing creation itself as our progenitor, and come to understand that the creation of a new heaven and a new earth is our heritage, our responsibility, and our birthright. Regardless of how or by whom we were raised. Then when we remember, then will the divine parent, which is the power of creation itself, be revealed in its children, all of the children of this world. And the Creator's world, the world of unlimited beauty and love and possibility, will be revealed in ours. The bottom line, you are here. And that is worth celebrating. Your father did, fathers do, you did, the best he or you could with what you had to work with. Acknowledge that. And know that God can do better. Go there. Celebrate that. And you will make your Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Happy your day. Happy God's Day. It is always that, isn't it? And by virtue of that, you inherit all of it. And you decide what to do with it. You are always at choice. Well, there's the talk I didn't think I wanted to give, but I feel better having given it. I love those of you that are sharing your stories. Dana, that's beautiful. This is Rosa Maria. Both my sons are good dads. One is a good dad to two twin, now men, no longer boys. Some of you remember when Greg came to church one Christmas with two itty-bitty twin boys in the car seats we could use in those days. So he had one in each hand. I've got a great picture that sits on my dresser of Greg and his two boys from the back. It's just a precious picture. I treasure it. Those two boys are both 22 years old now. And my oldest son is a great dad to, gosh, I lose track. It's 3 or 4 puppies now. But he's fabulous. He's fabulous. And he's so good with the children in the family. And then my daughter just married a saint. Just married a saint who is a fabulous father to 2 beautiful grandchildren, one of each, boy and a girl. And so, yeah, that generation's doing a real good job. Rosa Maria, thank you for reminding me of that. Is my image blurry? I wonder why. I don't like being blurry. Well, maybe I do. Uh, oh, Don, thank you. Yeah, see, Jennifer's saying that she and Kirk were both blessed to have strong, stable dads. Not perfect. Oh, well, they're human. Of course, they're not necessarily perfect. Oh, Cat brought the picture in. Let's see if you can see that. Cat, let me know because my screen's gone blank.
Well, I'm on delay, so hang on.
There it is. There's Greg at the Burbank Church, um, walking out with the two twin boys who now could carry him out.
Yeah,
Um,
it's good. Yeah, you can see it.
I love that picture. I love that picture. And I love the Greg's father, the kid's father was a great dad. Was a great dad, and they remember him and love him. Well, he is not with us any longer. He's now their father, who art in heaven. I'm sure because that's the only place that man would have gone. Didn't think it's the only place to go. You got to watch those autocorrects, don't you? Um, what I know is that things are changing for the better. It's chaotic right now. Yeah, sure, absolutely, it is. But because of COVID, a lot of us are spending a lot more time at home and thinking and thinking, considering, rearranging our thoughts and our priorities. And I think that's good and that's healthy.
Don Burgess says you make everything better.
Oh, Don, thank you. Thank you. You make a lot of things better too.
Joseph
We all do.
Sehon is here.
Oh, Joe, hi. Isn't that interesting, Laura, that you dreamed of your dad last night, the night before Father's Day? Of course, it's kind of in there, isn't it? It's in there. It's amazing what pops up with a little prodding. So, so here we are. Here we are. Um, whether or not we're going to go into serious lockdown again, who knows? I suspect in California we will, because our governor's just that kind of a guy. And personally, I think that's probably wise before we start all this all over again and make it even worse the second time around. And it gives us time to think. Use this time to consider your priorities, to tell the people that you love them, to reach out. I've spent more time with my kids on Zoom in the last few months than I've spent with them in the last couple of years, probably. We meet every Sunday. And I love it. I love the opportunity to be with them and find out what's been going on in their weekend and in their lives. And the grandkids chime in and they're there and part of it. And I feel like we have this much closer family just because we're choosing now to spend time together. And we can from where we are. God bless Zoom and Facebook. I don't want to leave anybody out. Use this time well. I think that's why it's been given to us, that we can stop and think. And while we are within our homes, we can go within and consider what's going on there. and then decide what it is we want to do. And we are all home, aren't we, to watch the protests, to listen to the protesters, to hear what people have to say and decide what we agree with and what we do not, and what perhaps we would like to do about it. It's a very creative time. Let's use it well. Let's consider and reconsider. Let us think and rethink. Perhaps repent. Repent, comes from the idea to rethink. It doesn't mean that. The Catholics know exactly what I mean by that. It is not about finding fault. It is about rethinking. Rethinking your priorities, rethinking your actions, rethinking how you are in the world, and whether or not you choose to be more, greater. Whether you choose to take a bigger part in the transformation of the world in its wholeness, and you can do that in a lot of ways. You can protest. That seems to be being quite effective. You can be part of the disruption, the changing of history. You can pray. You can do a great deal by simply staying where you are and praying. You don't have to do all the heavy lifting, but you can pray. And in praying, you can change things at their essence, in their core. Let us each do what we are guided to do. Let us each do what is ours to do. And what is the work for other people to do, let us support them in that. Let us do whatever we can to encourage and uplift and support them. And then what is God's to do, let us leave that to God. Shall we? Shall we? Let's pray. Shall we? And I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or just soft focus, so that your attention goes within and is not distracted by all that is around and about you. And take a deep breath. And then take a gentle breath. And with that breath, know that you are awakening the spirit within you, calling forth your divine heritage, calling forth God, the spirit within you, the creative spirit of the universe that has been waiting there within you all along. As we turn to it, we find that it has already turned to and into each of us, for there is nothing else to see. This is our divine parentage. and we are inheritors of its kingdom. Jesus said, God is in the kingdom, and the kingdom is within. What more do we need to know? Everything that we need, all of the love, all of the caring, all of the strength, all of the peace, all of the ideas and the solutions and the answers, all of the wholeness, the health, the vibrancy, the creativity. All that we need is there. Let us draw from it that which our heart desires. Let us be lifted by the joy of knowing that it is as close as our next thought, as available as our next breath. As gentle and yet as strong as the beating of our heart. Let us go there. And in that sacred place, in that holy of holies, let us be made new. Let us rethink, reconsider, recommit to the world that we are called to build. One life, one day at a time. And for today, we give thanks for those earthly fathers who contributed to our being in the world, to those earthly fathers who blessed our world, or perhaps made us stronger, more resilient, because they could not. We are who we are. We are grateful for that, and we will be more. And we are committed to that. And we will love greater, bigger. And we will care deeper. Because of the loving Father we have found within. And because now, as inheritors of the kingdom, we accept our responsibility to make its earthly reflection heaven on earth. And so in deepest gratitude for the strength and the power and the opportunity and the answers and the joy and the love of life that is ours, we give thanks. And let it be so. And so it is. And we started out by saying what a beautiful day it is. What a perfect day it is. And indeed, it is all of that, my friends. It is all of that. I am glad that every single one of you is here. Brenda, you started it out by saying, what a great day. It is indeed a great day. It is your Father's Day. And you, each of you, is a beloved child of that Father, an inheritor of the amazing kingdom within which is everything you need. Our dreams and our visions, I think, are simply leaks from the kingdom, the paradise, the heaven, down through our minds and our lives to remind us of what is possible and what is real. So here we are. It is a great day. Make it a great week. If you want a little boost, I'll be here Wednesday, 7 o'clock, same place. Just show up and we'll all be here and celebrate together. I've got an interesting thing I want to talk about right now on Wednesday. Um, it's about starting wherever it is you are at whatever age you are and knowing that by God, nothing is impossible. With God, all things are possible. Check with me on Wednesday. I think you'll enjoy it. I've been thinking about it for days and I'm enjoying every minute of it. So join me and let that be so. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the video. Those of you that are doing that, all you have to do is click the little thing that says share underneath the video and say where you want to send it. And you can have it on your timeline or send it off to friends or do whatever you want to do with it. Share it. Get it out there. Um, know that shortly after the talk is given, it's also available on the Relevant Spirituality page and on YouTube. And, well, that's it for right now. And thank you for those of you, thank you so much for those of you that have made financial donations. Some of you have made monthly commitments. We're just very, very grateful for all of that. Um, and we appreciate it. And most of all, I appreciate your being here and bringing friends. Let's have a party where two or more than two are gathered. Right smack in the middle of it is creation itself. So let's create something, shall we? Let's get into some good. I love you all very, very much. I'll know you're there on Wednesday. Check in with me. If you want to talk during the week, just check with me here and I'll find you. I love you. Happy Father's Day. Happy every day. Know that wherever you go with God because you can't go any other way.